Silent, Paid, Stalker, Megla, Sonomic.
All right, I have all of those on my
We have
list.
Demon Lord Odin, Neuber. Is that what it is? I gotta zoom in here. Wily, Jay Wennies, and Death Becomes You. Same picks. Yep, same picks, same teams. We don't care what you ban, as long as you don't ban what they picked.
I would recommend banning Teemo. Always ban Teemo.
That Teemo I played in ranked. He goes Frozen Mallet, Hurricane in that order every game. And he's Diamond 4.
We're still missing 2. Who are we missing?
We are missing Wily.
And Jay Wennies.
Jay Wennies.
Medieval Twitch band.
Microphone muted. Microphone activated.
Champ beginning with A, except Ash.
Blocker, please.
I think Cho is like the echo counter right now.
That's what I've heard.
I think Cho's just good right now.
You just W him and he's melee, so like he has to walk up to CS, and then you just W so he can't do anything against your Q, and then you Q him on top of the creep. It's
I've
a very
played
easy
a little bit of
matchup.
Cho lately,
Who we
and
missing?
almost every show I've
Jay
seen, he
Wennies.
just kind of stomp people.
We need Nova to white Jay Wennies, or Jay Wennies needs to get in here.
Invite him.
He's on his way. I
Microphone
was just
muted.
messaging him.
Alright, cool.
Microphone activated.
Sporky, you gonna try those vector runes?
I don't have all the appropriate runs.
I used to do that in Rumble. I used to run
So,
full Magic
he's running
Pen.
Magic Pen and everything except yellows?
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy. I'm just like, thank you.
That's
This
insane.
guy's on my team. 95% win rate and ranked.
Jesus
That's-
Christ.
What's his name?
I linked it in the Slack.
He did, but I didn't actually see it because I was on my phone, so I just
Yeah.
saw the thing.
He
Dude,
he was
that's
mid lane, and him and Annie both had like 70 CS, and then he just one shot her.
I
Go
mean,
ahead-
Victor
go ahead
can
and
one
start.
shot pretty easy at about level 6.
Let's do
If he's
this.
got Augment.
It's that Chidak Ogres.
That's insane.
Oh, he lost another one.
What did he lose?
All right. Back in here, the remix going.
Yeah, I said troll ban. Draven isn't a troll ban. Haters.
No, but they might be trying to spell something. Who knows?
Oh, he's trying to spell dicks.
What?
Yeah.
You mean
Dick,
dick?
yeah.
Oh yeah. There's an he could do Zinza. Dicks.
Oh
They
yeah,
could've-
since that would have been good.
They could have done that better. I'm not impressed.
Docker, at this point, you might as well show your masteries or
Yeah,
your
let's
summoners.
let's not do that again.
Balance is just good against Echo. Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. Echo struggles
Silence
with
is-
silence.
Cho just has such a huge silence that nobody else has one anymore.
And Rengar against Echo. Oh, you just one shot him in bowling, he can't do anything. There's a Rengar in like every third game. Or it's banned. Crazy.
Really? I haven't seen a Rengar in ages in my Elo.
I think sometimes people just play fun stuff though. Like I see Lee Sin in a ton of games. I don't think he's crazy. I think people just really like playing stuff that's fun.
People just like playing Lee Sin because it's Lee Sin.
Yeah, Rengar, it's fun to one shot people. I mean, I think he's good, but I think he's really fun too. I love Cho, but I never made a top. Play jungle Cho, it's pretty good. Not crazy, but it's pretty good.
The sustain's pretty bonkers once you get a
Sustain's
couple points
nice,
of E.
and once you get, what you call it, Cinder Hulk, you just get so stupidly tanky just because of your ult.
Well, they made the
It's
change to his
hilarious.
ultimate a couple patches ago where it's half cooldown if he uses it on a monster minion.
That too, he stacks
Yeah.
so much faster now, it's really nice. I think he's actually a pretty strong pick right now.
He's one of my favorite people to jungle as right now.
I just rarely see him, but I'm trying to think the last time I saw Cho'Gath lose a game. It's been a while that I've seen a Cho'Gath lose.
I think he's in a good meta. I think he really struggles against mobile people, but there's not a lot of mobile stuff.
You don't have the super mobile assassins who can actually hit people.
Yeah.
He's
That's
very
like
good at
his
being
weakness.
tanky, and he does true damage, so even if you've got, a billion armor magic, he still chomps you for half your health.
Right.
Really don't want to be ulting tanks though.
No.
If you can get away
But
with
it's
it.
like if you have no other option, at least you actually do something to them,
Yeah.
But unlike, he doesn't suffer from that problem that a lot of other tanks do, where they just get big and tanky and they can be ignored.
Joe is like that.
He
If
gets
he
big and
misses
tanky,
Q.
and then he eats your 80 carry and laughs.
If he misses Q, he can be ignored late game.
Yeah.
So I'd really
He's
like
still
to
the
I'd like to
silence
shift
big.
this conversation a little bit to Sonomic and his Rise, because I think there's kind of like a misconception here on how to play Rise and how to properly use his power spikes, because he really doesn't hit that good power spike into 12, 15 minutes, and it's not even that big of one. But with that said, I think right now with the purple team, obviously they're playing point and click, as Horse put it earlier, but Rise, there's a good spot for Rise to keep it, to keep the turret, to keep the minion wave pushing, and this is, I think, where minion wave manipulation is going to come into play for him, because it's very easy for Gragas to come out to gank him if he doesn't keep it in the middle of the lane or keep it to the closer to him and let Shen push him a little bit. But there's going to become a point where Shen leaves the lane, and in my opinion, I don't think he should really be pushing it for the tower. Instead, trying to get as much free farm as he can to try to get that extra gold, because he doesn't push towers very quickly, and the more creeps he can kill, the faster he's going to reach that power spike.
You want to slow push. You want to decide how many waves am I going to get in the tower, and then you want to slow push it if you can't take tower. Because if you just burn it out, it's okay, but it won't bounce back as hard, and you don't deny as much farm. So, I don't know, if Shen ults and you do want to free farm, freeze may not be the best option. Just counting, am I going to get 2 waves or 3 waves, and then slow pushing accordingly.
And that's more or less what I'm trying to get at here is the wave manipulation, so you know how many waves you are pushing into the tower by the time he is gone. And you need to have the understanding of what the caster minions do more damage than the melee minions. So if you wanted to start the slow push, for example, you remove the 3 melees and let the casters do their thing.
I'm not convinced Rise is OP. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence right now, too. I think something about his kit is broken, but I don't know if broken equals OP.
Well, broken in the
It's
fact that he
the
can
fact you can
perma
chain
W
Ws.
somebody.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Max
talking
W
about.
and you chain W, so they just can't move forever, and you just burn them down.
One thing Rise needs to pay attention to is Rise W, there's a change to Channel, I don't know, probably 6 months ago,
Yeah.
that Rise W, or Snares stop Channel now. So
Yes,
Rise needs
I
to
think
know
it
that
was
he can stop
almost a
Channel.
year now. But yeah.
Maybe. Rise knows he can stop Channel, and he also needs to be cognizant of following TP. And he needs to know that when he follows TP, Shen doesn't have to TP to ult, but Rise has to TP to follow. So he needs to pay attention to the TP advantage Shen is going to have afterwards. Unless Shen TP's back to lane. But TP timers are pretty big for Rise, and just playing around TP in this game.
Especially against the Shen. That's probably the single most frustrating piece of playing teleport Shen is he comes bot at the same time you do, but then if he doesn't die, he's back top and pushing again, and he lost almost nothing for his time.
That's kind of how you deal with things like that sometimes, though. When TF was really big in Season 3, a lot of times people would pick teleport against me, or teleport Karthus, and it's pretty hard to deal with if they have a good teleport. It really makes you second guess, can I kill them before I get the counter gank off? Or before they counter gank me, you know what I mean?
Right, I'm following you.
It's
Well, all right, so we're moving into the game here. What do we expect either team to do? Are we just going to see that normal everyday fan-out start, or should either of these teams be looking for an invade or trying to stop gangplank specifically?
They have Morgana bind Cho'Gath Q. Red team needs to be invading.
I think Red's got a much better invade than Blue does, yeah. I mean, Shen could take taunt level 1 or whatever too, which people could be big. I don't love that idea though. It's just an option, really.
You're giving up too much.
You're giving up a
for
lot.
such little gain.
Yeah.
Gangplank has the best level 1 too.
What, through Q crits? Or
No, because of how much damage he deals through Q passive and autos, and the fact that his base health at level 1 is out of control. He's the highest base health at level 1 in the game, I believe. I'm pretty confident.
Is it really? Wow.
You know what? That's what we have Google for.
To the wiki!
Da-da-da-da-da.
League of List of Champions health. Value at level 1 is Gangplank with 631.08.
Alright,
Next
well,
is Tryndamere, Tarek, Garen, and Trundle, if you guys wanted to know.
That's good. I was pretty sure about that, but I was a little scared that I was wrong.
But his gross stat, actually Tryndamere's gross stat's higher, which is funny. Who's got the highest gross stat? Alistar with 102 per level. That's a lot of health.
I never felt like Alistar got that much health, but maybe it's just because I don't typically build much health in Alistar.
Yeah,
Like most other
Alistar, you
ganks.
really you want to bully him, but you want to make sure you come back with BF, because if you don't have BF, it's so hard to push Alistar out of lane. It's rough.
that's
So starts are pretty standard.
I'm gonna say your normal solo queue starts right now.
Yeah. I
Except
feel like
nobody's
Red Team
AFK
actually could
tower.
have a pretty strong invade if they decided to, but I mean, whatever.
They both do. I mean, even if your invade isn't better, priority on invades is pretty important.
Yeah.
It's good by Morgana. That's a good spot to check. One thing we
Definitely.
talk about a lot too is not skilling at one in case something happens. Few people
L2
have.
skilled.
Gragas
Morgana
did.
has.
Morgana was fine because she checked with Q and got it.
Sure.
It depends on the champion too. Some champs they like the same skill at level
And
one
Twitch
regardless.
is already skilled as well with his Contaminate.
It's not. I mean, it's not a big deal, but 1 out of 150 games it would make a difference.
it's a good practice to get into.
And looking
Very
at
much so.
runes too, they're pretty standard.
So how do we feel about the Cho'Gath into Victor mid lane matchup?
The silence is really obnoxious.
Victor
Nah.
doesn't have sustain, and Cho can poke
Yeah.
with W over and over again if he maxes it.
And he can also harass through a minion wave if he gets up close, if Victor stays close to it. Just like that. That's you. But when you, so the big thing silent here, using your silences, you need to need to be careful because you artificially push the wave by silencing through a wave. So you need to position yourself so that you are not pushing the wave if you can help it.
Well, right now he wants to push the wave. You want to get it if you can. It's good to get it in a tower at 230 or 235, which is end of first or second, or even the beginning of third wave, because it'll bounce back and it'll reset where you can freeze it by about 330, which is where the other jungler want to gank. When you hit tower, it resets. So if you don't want to get ganked in a minute, sometimes you just reset wave.
I'm actually going to pay attention to bottom wave here because we're just about there's the level 2 and the same level 2. All right, good job. I think that's a good job on both those teams there for recognizing that the first level 2 is going to win that lane hard, and by hitting it both at the same time, you guys have essentially neutralized each other's level 2s.
One thing I just want to touch on in the mid lane is Victor started the laser, but if you're starting laser on Victor, you really want to use that to shove the wave hard to get to level 2 significantly earlier. Whereas he mostly just used it to kind of take 1 or 2 minions at a time and try and harass at the same time. If you're just trying to trade and harass a little bit, his Q's actually better level 1 because it gives you the shield as well as the Empowered Auto. And it does, I think it's 10 more damage base. But the laser is a better start at level 1 because it lets you shove the wave, get level 2 2 or 3 minions before him because you shoved it harder than he did. And then you just can really abuse them with your level 2 of having both Q and E at the same time.
I talked about
So
that.
I would have liked to see him kind of shove a little harder with the laser if he's starting laser, but kind of whatever.
I talked about that in my TF guide. A lot of control mages want to start a skill to shove, and especially get that skill into casters and just abuse 2 first. Lux, TF, Victor.
I just want to point out for both junglers that I am very glad that you incorporated the scuttles onto your first jungle route.
That's good.
I feel that's very important for getting you the extra gold, the vision, and the experience.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of extra gold. It's what 45 gold at level 1
Can you skip
compared to a cult
Athene's?
camp.
So we have a question in chat. Can you skip Athene's, Morellos, and Victor and just get CDR boots? You
I-
can. I've seen
I
both
don't
those.
like getting Athenes or Merlos anyways, honestly. CDR boots are nice. I tend to just default to Magic Pin, but it's kind of either or. I don't typically like to personally go into the mana regen / CDR items. As much as he likes the CDR, I feel like the mana regen's kind of not needed because he gets quite a bit of mana from his Hex Core. And then you're just delaying getting your real big AP spikes, and getting like an early LLR or whatever instead is actually really huge for him.
Most time on mid laners, you see CDR boots too. It's like on a TF, you see CDR boots a lot of times. And it's one, you want CDR, and two, sometimes you get them because you can't go CDR level blues.
Top lane.
Popular rune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was just about to wonder what you guys recommend. I was looking at Rise's CS and his gold, and how much does he want to prioritize going back and getting a tier as soon as it's viable for him?
Both, I don't think it's both of them is that big of a deal to get it as quickly as possible. Like tier, obviously, you allow it to stack a little faster to be able to get to the item, but you really don't complete that tier item before you complete the Rod of Ages. So the Rod of Ages is a little bit more important. But I'm actually looking over here at Odin. And Odin, with this many creeps as you have, and since you've been maxing Q, I'd start harassing Rise as heavily as I could, using your taunt to force those minions to attack Rise. Look how many minions are right there, and you could be standing right below him with taunt, forcing him to eat all that extra attack damage, forcing him to miss minions, forcing him to go back behind the tower.
And with how little damage Rise auto attacks do, you'd probably like not even take damage if you had your shield up.
Right.
He made the right
Rise 80 is so low.
Gangplank was Mia and he didn't have a ward. It would have been so obnoxious to taunt under tower there.
I'm not talking about taunt under tower specifically, but there was a point right before that where he could have taunted into the minion wave. Definitely don't taunt yourself under tower. You lose the trait at that point.
Right, because then we saw how Tsunamic then proceeded to eat the minion damage to keep it from getting the tower, and it took him down to about half life just sitting there eating minion damage.
Yeah, bottom lane, that blue, that was a telegraphed. That was very very telegraphed. But we have Gangplank coming here, Stalkers here. There's no bush. There's no ward in that bush, and they don't know about it.
Stalker's got to be careful there because he's got no vision, and Gragas has a level up on him, which is really a big advantage when it's jungler against jungler.
So Tsunami is sending it back. Okay. Go ahead.
A lot on jungles. I get the question quite a bit in MBA or in lessons, like what should my CS be as a jungler? Generally not something you pay a ton of attention to. What you do pay attention to is what level you are. Like level benchmarks are way more important than farm benchmarks if you're jungling.
So did we look at Death Become You? He actually started with the Ancient Coin rather than the Relic Shield. And against this lane, wouldn't we have rather had Relic Shield to be able to have that sustain for my Twitch to be able to farm up? Because you are going to take harass between Ashe and Morgana.
Yeah, I think Coin just sucks unless you're playing Soraka.
Right.
In like a losing lane. If you're playing a winning lane in Soraka, you can even go spell thief.
Just lots of.
I mean, Coin's better than it used to be, but it still doesn't give you combat stats.
Supports
I'm watching.
winning lane.
I'm watching bottom lane right now, and I'm just seeing lots of little mechanical mistakes, essentially throwing out bindings too quickly, not being able to CS properly through orb walking. Just little things that you can actually go work on if you guys want some homework after this. Is work on your orb walking with CS, because right now Twitch, that CS should have been yours, and that extra auto attack afterwards shouldn't have come out.
The biggest thing is there's something called auto spacing bot lane, and it's something you can work on. It's a little different than last hitting. It's when you last hit, between the next last hit, practice moving as much as you can on your character.
Yes.
Auto spacing. I think that's what we're trying to touch on.
That's a good way to put it. It's not a way I've heard it been talked about before, but I like it.
Auto spacing. Well, that's what it is. It's the space between your autos. Ashe Air coming down mid.
Oh, is it gonna hit? Is it gonna do anything? Wow. It is.
Yep.
Wow.
Wow. Victor, there's nothing you could have done there. Like you couldn't have seen that coming.
You could flash it if you have really good reflexes. I think that's the only counterplay.
Flash the arrow.
All right, so let's see here. Shen was forced back, picking up a Spectre's Cowl into a Ruby Crystal. And we have Rise sitting on his early tier. Is the build right now for Rise early tier into Rod of Ages? I'd assume it's Catalyst into tier, or does it not matter?
Yeah, I think if you're winning lane hard enough, you can go tier first just to be greedy with stacks.
Yeah, that's fine. I get that.
He was doing a good job when he pushed Shen out of the lane there by using all of his spell range to constantly put damage on Shen so he couldn't get in to get his CS.
Oh. Alright, so bottom lane this year, Ashe is up over 1,000 gold on Twitch at this point in time, and Twitch has the Bilgewater Cutlass while Ashe has a BF sword. Oh, they've landed, paid the placement hit. Nice lantern, very nice lantern to pull. A little late on the grab, but hey, it works. You've successfully out traded at that point. You blew a summoner spell and a heal.
Cutting off the escape with the
this one's
Gangplank
gonna be
ult.
rough. Stalker being at the bottom lane at the right time, and that ult, so they couldn't get out of there. So I think that's well played.
Incoming Shen ult.
Very late Shen ult, however.
Well, you still wow.
Oh wow.
Hey,
yeah, if Shen had
turned it
ulted
around.
the Twitch instead, the Twitch would have been able to kill the Ashe, I think, and would have then it would have
Hey, there's
survived.
an Ashe arrow coming. Nope.
And it's not going to hit anybody.
Oh no, Stalker, that was just... I know you want that kill, but there's...
This is the best part about this, is watching this to see if they get it. We can all be silent in awe. Since there is nobody play-by-play. Alright, he's gone. Odin, turn it back around and start hitting the
No,
creeps.
he's got taunt. Oh,
No, don't do it,
didn't
Odin.
quite tag him. Didn't quite tag him with the edge of the taunt.
Yeah, because at this point,
Then tell... Ooh,
he got Odin got lucky that that turret didn't go
You
down.
got bailed out. So is Cho here? I don't agree with the rod. I don't know what rod item you'd rush this Cho. Like,
He's probably rushing Ludens. Not that I agree with it, but that's probably what he's rushing.
yeah, rush the CDR item or Roa. Like, those are the two items you rush this
Even
Cho.
the Chalice of Harmony, I'm not really a big fan of either. I know it gives you magic
Does mid lane show
resist.
build Roa most of the time, though?
I think Morales
Doesn't most
is
of the
better.
time mid lane show build just like full AP?
Yeah, he doesn't
That's what I
need
say.
to, but Roa would be a better
Oh.
choice than either of these.
You get CDR and then you get resist items, and that makes you tanky because you have health from ult and resists. Like,
And it's more the mid lane show guys I've seen have been more building like full damage, not tanky at all, really caring.
I think
That's how good the
Abyssal
tankiness
Hourglass
from their ult.
makes you really tanky,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
but it makes
Which
you
I wouldn't
do
be surprised at
damage
all.
too.
I wouldn't be surprised that's going to turn into an hourglass.
I just don't like the Chalice of Harmony because cooldown reduction is great, but even with all the cooldown reduction in the world,
Give him a
you're
bunch
not
of mana
gonna
back.
you're
He
not.
has a pretty high mana cost, so
You don't need it though. Like you should be landing those abilities. You should be landing those abilities to the point where you are making them count rather than trying to throw so many out. It's essentially the difference between buckshot and a slug. You should make your one shot count rather than band-aiding it by picking up a whole bunch of CDR.
So, looking here, I can see that blue team has a pretty large CS deficit in every lane. What do you think they can do to... What's their strategy be here? Just try and farm up, play safe, make plays? What do you guys feel like they should be doing at this point?
Play around your win condition. Like, play around Shen ult to the best that you can.
Yeah, if it's Shen right now, you should be typing in chat, 60 seconds till alt, and the team should be know at that point that they can contest Dragon, that they can go very hard in the bottom lane. Shen could... If I was Shen, I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing, freezing this wave, but watching the entire thing. Alt mid. All right, well, that was actually close. That Shen ult actually almost got him. Tsunami coming in here, doing a good job of coming up and doing the damage. I'm surprised it's silent.
That was quite well coordinated.
Didn't get the kill, but that Shen ult, again, just a little late.
Victor, remember to pop your health pots. You probably should have lived today. Health pot's the same as a ruby crystal if you get the whole thing off.
Yep.
another thing to work on actually with the Victor play is just to try working on being less predictable in your movements. Because you keep being like right in the middle of Cho'Gath queues when he's clearly leading you really easily. So you might want to work on just being less predictable in your movements in lane.
Mm-hmm.
So that he can't easily lead you with Ashe ults and Cho'Gath queues. So
Alright, right now-
if you're getting hit by one, you're getting chained by the other one, really.
So the dragon went down at 1358, roughly. You should have heard the SFX. At that point, you should just type D in the chat as well, so you know. Death becomes you. No one's following you. You're going to die because of this.
Yeah.
And you've had to blow your ult. Are you going to make it? Is he going to make it out?
Oh.
No.
Okay. I'm going to say, I didn't like the play either way, just because no one was following you, because Wily had to sit in a turret and farm those creeps to get that extra gold, so there's really no reason for you to go to that point, but...
Went chasing after one of their carries as a support.
So
1v2.
in chat,
This
does
is
jungle
well.
GP actually work? I think it struggles from the lack of early game pressure in CC. I think if you don't get abused too badly in the early game, you can do well. And I think that brings up to a good point on what blue teams should be doing. What they can play around is Gragas has so much more ganking power than Gangplank. So is Gragas here? If your team is losing, you really need to like put on the carry pants and gank some lanes.
The Gragas putting on carry pants. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Well, you can carry, but I mean, you carry with assists. It's a team game.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I would have actually liked to see him, because right now you picked up Cinder. Oh my God, Wiley, what are you doing, buddy? Okay, I'm going to tell you why this was a bad decision. Not because they had ultimates up, not because there was Black Shield and all that, but because you gave a kill and assist to the enemy team for 1 kill, which does not make it worth it when you're that far behind, because you're not getting enough gold to push you that much further ahead to make up the gold difference that the enemy team gained to make that aggressive play worth your time. Because now the Ashe is still alive. You didn't kill her. You killed Morgana. She is potentially gaining more farm, which she's not obviously because she's being zoned. But in a normal scenario, she would be sitting there farming, gaining more gold, getting farther ahead of you. So you need to do a risk analysis right there before you go in.
I think another important thing is Twitch still got the kill. Thresh could have seen Twitch. One, he could have seen Twitch engaging there, and they probably could have gotten a double kill. And two, Thresh died. I mean, Twitch died, and Thresh still had flash exhaust. Like, you need to react to your laner, even if you don't think they're making a good call. And if Thresh would have just played with Twitch, even though it looked really stupid, they probably would have had a double.
Right. I'm happy to hear all these pings. I will say that. I like the use of all the pings and that people are using them in solo queue, because it's something that I think is lost as you move up. I'm not sure what's happening to Death, but
He was a tasty
Microphone
snack.
muted.
and there's an Ashe Arrow again. Paid. He's throwing all these full. He throws one good one, and then he can't. He thinks he can continue doing it for the rest of the game.
And to be fair, he's done 2.
It's only something you can get away with if you're winning lane hard. If you're losing lane on Ashe and you do that, and they see you do it, they're just gonna like 2v2 you.
All right. So at this point, Shen needs to be aware that the bottom turret is going down, and he may need to alt Twitch. But at the time, you have to make that risk analysis. Is it worth my time? Could I turn this game around? There's enough people around me. At this point, I think if he pays attention, he could potentially alt somebody and turn this fight into a win. Especially if Victor's roams right down. I actually don't agree with that call. I think it would have been better if Victor would have rolled right down there to the bottom wave. Shen would have ulted in. You would have had a 5v4. Because TP on Tsunamic is down, and you guys should know that from the TP that he used earlier to stop Shen's split push.
And now Victor's over 10 and they're going to collapse on him. Yeah, when they were pushing in earlier, when he was only about, like, just before River, he could have collapsed down pretty easily, actually. And could have probably gotten some big working, because they were all clustered right together, which is kind of Victor's wheelhouse. But instead, he just kept pushing, and then they all collapsed on him because they didn't have any wards in their jungle.
And keep in mind, I mean, you're Victor. You don't push towers all that quickly, and you knew everybody was bottom lane. I mean, I'm not putting this on Victor's shoulders, because he did get pinged back and pinged to the tower by somebody else on his team, so he was listening to his team. But for everybody to know that Victor doesn't take towers very quickly, and when you have somebody like Shen where you can turn a 5v4 or a 4v4 into a 5v4 almost instantly, especially when the teleport's down from the top laner, that's I'm not gonna say a guaranteed win, but the odds are in your favor.
Sometimes you need to make changes too, even if it's not like the best fight in the world. If you're losing and you're playing a mid-game champ and it's mid-game, sometimes you just need to like take a 50-50 fight.
Yes, absolutely. What do we got going on? He did build that into a Ludens, by the way, which I think we all noticed. I know we didn't want to harp on trinkets though, but how we got a number? Nobody on the blue side has upgraded their trinket, spent the 250 gold for it. So
I think a lot of sweepers on.
The interesting sweeper on 80k. It kind of makes sense because of the Twitch matchup, and she may not be confident that her support can sweep it out.
Yeah, I'm not upset with that. And I understand gold is tight on the blue side, but I think it's one of those two where it's such a minimal investment when you're that behind that it might be worth it. I get that's hard too, but I'm not gonna harp on trinkets this game. Just something I thought I'd point out.
Yeah, I think it's good to point out still. Just
in particular, in a situation like this where they're losing ward control of their own jungle, having like the upgraded yellow trinket on like your mid laner can be super huge, just because it's 2 free wards that you can easily just drop in the bush by your wraiths, drop one by red buff or whatever. And
regain vision control.
You got
while yourself.
Vision control at least to a degree of your own jungle.
By the way, Death, that was a great lantern.
The Dragons have 10 seconds. Let's look like what each team has done to prep for this. I'm gonna cycle through the vision for each team. Blue team has no wards and dragon at all, and red team doesn't have any immediately on dragon. I do like that I see 2 pinks from red, and if you do your pre-dragon back, which is a good habit to get into, backing like 30 seconds before dragon, usually you want to grab a pink if you have 100 gold for it. So,
if I was blue team though, I wouldn't even try to contest this dragon if I could help it. They're so red team is so far ahead, and if you tab and press the items, I would just give this one up and continue to farm the best of my ability.
That Morgana and Ashe don't have ult because they used it bot, and you also saw Gangplank use ult. So it may not be a good fight, but you have 5 ults against 2, so maybe the best fight you're gonna get.
Yeah. Yeah, it's done.
Stalker used ult in a weird time, but. Oh, Victor.
Alright, so Odin going in there trying to stop it, and we see Death Becomes You Paid having a fight down in the bottom lane. Very nice. Very good kill on Paid, who was neglecting.
It's exactly what I just talked about. The red team, their bot lane's winning by a lot. Ashe is almost 100 CS. Don't have ultimates, and sometimes that's how you come back.
Oh, fight this, Wily. Go. Wily, you gotta move, dude. No, fight that. No, fight that. No! Oh my god. I don't
when
know
Shen ults on you to fight the Cho'Gath, you gotta actually like fight the Cho'Gath.
Flash the Cho Q too. You flash. Just flash the Q or flash the W.
I can only assume he was
AP,
lagging.
you really need to get out of the queue.
I can only assume he was lagging because he just stopped moving altogether and just didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm. I'll say for Tsunami, you're doing really well and you're winning lane hard. Ulting a little more than you need to push wave. It doesn't really matter if he's slow push or fast push here.
He just disconnected again, so yes, he must have had some issues.
Having lag problems or something, yeah.
I do see that in a lot of BA, and especially in BBC. And your internet does influence your rank to some degree if you're disconnecting a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I check out the Riot toolbox, make sure your ports are forwarded. There are some small things you can do, and like if you DC 1 out of 100 games, that makes like climbing harder because you have to win a game to make up for it.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. I can't remember the last time I DC'd, and I do know that when I was hitting, I was getting big lag spikes, and I neglected to play rank during that time that I was hitting big lag spikes until it was fixed. You need to call your service provider as well, because they might be able to do something about it. But back to items and away from those, I don't like that Stalker rushed Frozen Heart against this team.
Yeah, Tuco was just bringing that up in Twitch chat that he would have rather have seen a Black Cleaver.
I think he's trolling.
Yeah, 2 bad fights in a row. Wily was too busy farming and didn't see it coming, which it happens. And then they picked a fight 3v4 or 3v3 when they were down gold.
Oh, no attack speed on blue team. Yeah.
But there's no attack speed besides Twitch, and yes, you're going to stop Twitch, but it's just Twitch that you're stopping.
Yeah, it's Twitch versus really 3 semi-AP at least.
I think
Victor who's full AP, and Shen and Greg who both do a decent bit of AP.
BC and Heart are both good. Because I think like it's not optimal, the attack speed's slow, but the CDR and the armor are both optimal.
I would have picked up Frozen Heart or Iceborne Gauntlet over that. It's just how this game was going. At the point that he built Frozen Mallet, he could have built the Glacial Frozen Mallet. I'm saying Frozen Heart. He could have built the Glacial piece and then moved right into Sheen when he saw that the game was going in his favor.
Mm-hmm. I feel like an Aegis, like Tuco's putting in chat, actually would have been his best rush, really, if he's building tank. Just because it's so good across the board for your team, really.
The earlier,
especially when you're facing as much AP as they are.
The earlier you get Aegis, the better too.
Alright, Death picking up the kill. I'll give it to you though. Oh, and there's the Stalker ult.
And he's gonna get it.
His passive would have had that.
You don't underestimate GP passive. I used to main GP for a while, and when I watch Gangplanks, one of the biggest things I look for is like how many auto attacks they can fit in. I know Qs are fun on Gangplank, especially you go crit plank because they can crit, but the Bruiser you Gangplank build's usually better because your passive's pretty strong and you want to fit those in.
I generally max E on Gangplank and trade with my passive and auto attacks.
Old school.
I know you can still do it with Q, and like you get the random crits or you get the extra gold, but yeah, I really like that bruisery up in your face E-Gangplank.
I got 2 points Q Emax if I'm doing.
And that's not a bad idea either. So at this point, Wily is disconnected, so I would not be surprised if we see us. I did see a surrender vote come out, which is unfortunate that stuff happens. But like we said, if you're having connection issues, figure out what's going on with them, because you're not only impacting yourself, you're impacting others in the game. And it's very easy to be selfish. I don't want to assume anything with you, Wily. It might just be a bad night, thunderstorms. I get it, but I think we should point it out for anybody in the future that's watching these videos.
Yeah, and it's pretty important. Like, I don't know, let's think if you're climbing ranked and you go 15-50, your LP doesn't change, assuming your MMR is average. If you DC from 2 games, you're 48 and 52, so you're -4 at that point. Just from, 2 games you could have prevented by forwarding your ports or calling your ISP.
There's also things to look into, like if you're on Wi-Fi, can you run a wired connection? Stuff like that too, because Wi-Fi connections can be pretty spotty too.
I would never play Wi-Fi if I could help it.
There's a lot of people who do play on Wi-Fi though, and it does get really sketchy.
All right, so that's becoming you hit a hook here. He's going to go all the way in, so we're going to have a team
nice
fight.
Black Shield. That was a
At this
really
point,
good Black Shield
I
by
would
Morgana.
disengage the hell out of this team fight, because that ult is down. There's no reason to walk into it. There you go. Wait for cooldowns to be down. Oh, Death, what are you doing?
Ooh.
Or Demon. There's the Ash Arrow that came out. Very good Ash Arrow to stop the incoming. I just think that was a little too aggressive when you're that far behind, when you know that the enemy team has. You can look and put it up and you can tally it. They know they have 11 kills ahead of you. You need to take what you can and walk away with it.
So on Shen, that was really stupid, but if you do want to go for a flash taunt that isn't as ridiculous, you want to taunt before you flash.
You can flash in the middle, yeah. It's hard to read.
The Shen taunt trick, especially if you want to play jungle Shen, is pretty important to learn.
Because you can go further.
And it's just faster.
It's just faster, it gives them less time to react.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a slight pause when you hit E before he actually dashes. It's not very long, but it's just enough that you can actually kind of notice and potentially flash out of the way or something. Whereas you taunts first and then flashes into you, so the end of the taunt hits him.
It's clipping your spells too. I can tell a good brand from a bad brand, because a good brand clips his 3 spells so they all hit at the same time. A bad brand doesn't. Clipping's important though. If you get bursted really hard because an assassin or an AP carry knows how to clip their spells, you so little time to react. And it's much harder to estimate the damage if you're taking it all at once.
How able are you to clip your spells out there at 120 ping? It just takes practice.
You just learn what order you have to do them in. I don't know. And how far apart you put them from each other. Ping also doesn't matter if you use DI. Ping is more of a reaction thing. But if you use DI and muscle memory, everything's 120 apart. So you're playing the same as somebody with 20 as far as your spells and the spacing between them.
Well, right now we're looking at the entire team. Red is obviously up by 11 kills at this point. If we look at the top, blue team is quite a bit behind. Should Red be grouping up here in mid, pushing down? Should Red be waiting for the next dragon? Do we have a timer on it? I guess
they just took dragon
a
minute ago.
So they just took dragon. Yes. That's where I was going to next. What is Red's objective at this point? 4-man push down mid with a side push on since they're so far ahead?
Type into chat, ask Ryze if he has TP. The answer is going to be no, and then just 5-man Baron. If it's yes, Ryze goes bot, and then you 4-man Baron with TP. They have good wards in the jungle too, so if they start and Ryze did have TP, Ryze TPs to blue and then he messes them up or something.
Arrow here being the bait, not showing that Baron is up, so that's a free Baron for the red team.
Mm-hmm.
I should say purple team. I should probably turn colorblind mode on, huh?
Kappa. TP is an amplifying tune. That's the worst component you can buy of Trinity Force first, or Sheen. Get a Saph. Even if you're going Sheen, get the mana thing. It does more for GP.
Oh yeah, because all that scales off it is his W and his R.
Yeah, it doesn't do much unless you're AP GP.
Right. At this point, you don't even need the full engage. Don't do anything stupid. Don't push on the tower.
Oh.
Even that Gangplank ultimate, or that Gragas ultimate was a little silly.
Stalker, it was for Azonius. Get the cloth armor first then. No excuses.
So I'm gonna say obviously this game is over. Red team is more than likely going to take this game. Just be it so far ahead. Blue team has been demoralized. What can we go back and look at that happened earlier in this game from any of the lanes that people can work on? I know we talked about people. What was the term you used for the Twitch when you auto attack? I can't remember.
Oh, auto spacing.
Auto spacing. I think that's something that everybody should work on, especially top lane when you're working in between anybody, or understanding your auto attack range. I think that would be the number one thing I would take if I was bottom lane at this point between both Thresh and Twitch is learning your auto attack range and learning where you're going to stand or how far you could walk in between each auto attack. You can go into a custom game and try that out. Attack, move, and attack again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, auto spacing is good. It's really, really important top lane because you can position yourself between the CS and like get favorable trades on minion aggro if they do want to fight you. A lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say for Shen in the top lane too, be aware of your minion size because I know I mentioned that you can taunt. That's one of the biggest ways that Shen has to trade is using minions to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got two waves pushing into them and then you not alt, but you E or you taunt them into that minion wave, they're going to take more damage between your key strike, your Q, and the minion damage than they are when they throw it back at you once they get out of it. So we are in the death recap screen. Is there anything specific we want to look at or talk over at this point?
Yeah, I usually touch on each person and touch on two things to improve on so that they can work on it either think about it before the next game or work on it before next week. So I'm kind of just going to go down the line. So Gragas, like, the big takeaways for me here are, I don't think I saw you buy Pink Ward. Oh, you bought 4, alright, I'm off. But 139 CS. If you lose a game on jungle, and your CS is really high, you usually could have done more, especially your kill participation is 33% on a jungler, only 2 kills, which isn't a lot. If you're playing a Gangplank versus Gragas matchup, you really need to be ganking earlier. Go for flash body slams, go for aggressive plays, so on.
Pick up that Boots of Moby before you finish Cinderhulk.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot you can do. Just understand the matchup. Good jungle Gangplank isn't played for a reason, and it's not that it's terrible. It doesn't have early game impact. But if you don't have early game impact, jungle Gangplank suddenly becomes an okay pick.
Mm-hmm.
So, Thresh. Don't start coin. When you get dumpstered in lane and you start coin, it's pretty easy to point out that you shouldn't have started coin.
And it's also the Talisman of Ascension rush on him that he did as well, or after his Sightstone, isn't great when you're behind because you can't use the Ascension to get in or get out of the fights because people die too quickly. The shield from the Relic Shield, or the final piece of it, the Face of the Mountain, could have potentially turned fights around at any point into that game. Now, I can't specifically touch on it because you guys did have a couple issues with Twitch DCing, but again, it's just coin doesn't give you enough pressure in lane, doesn't allow you to sustain your AD carry, and doesn't allow you to support.
And then if you
Pinks is pretty rough too.
And also, and if on Fresh you don't feel that your last hitting is on point enough to use the Relic Shield, create a custom game, practice that, because it is going to be a little bit different as not being an AD carry and not being a melee champion. Last hitting on that Relic Shield, something you're going to want to practice.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the fact that your auto attack damage changes drastically based on how much your E is charged up.
We talked
also
about.
really throw with it.
I gave Shen a bunch of tips right before here, basically using minions to your advantage, being more mindful of people when you need to ultimate, because a lot of your ultimates were late and they could have changed fights, or you were ulting the wrong people. Just essentially just be more mindful of everything. Plus, I gave you some tips before the game ended. Victor, I want to say that we touched on Victor mid-game, and essentially it was the early game and decision-making, correct?
Yeah, I think
also working on being less predictable in your movements, because he was like walking into a lot of Qs from the Cho'Gath, which really is like it's all on Cho'Gath to try and lead you into the Q. So if you let him lead you into the Q easily, then you just need to start being less predictable so he can't effectively lead you. So like if he's like, well, every time I take a step forward he jumps to the right, then he starts leading to the right, you walk into it and you eat a bunch of damage.
And there's
Just working being a little less predictable is helpful with that.
There's a specific mechanic behind that you can practice too. Usually when I see people who are very predictable, it's that they're walking in very long strokes or straight lines, almost like you're playing StarCraft and you want to move your stalkers from one place to another. League isn't like that. To make yourself less predictable, you want to be clicking very close to your character, right and left. Your movements will seem much more sporadic to play against, and it's a lot harder to read. You don't want to have those long, drawn-out strokes. I just said stalker. Speaking of stalkers, Kappa.
Yes.
I don't really know a ton about Jungle Gangplank. I liked the early route, and I liked the scuttle control. We touched on the heart choice.
Yeah, we touched on. Yeah, it's pretty hard to give stalkers some tips here when it comes to gameplay, because I really think a lot of this, because you won so hard that it's hard to give the extra tips to
His
it.
lanes mostly won without him, so he kind of wasn't a huge deal, really. Like, he did fine, but it's like he didn't need to force any lanes to win. They just kind of won anyways.
He essentially rushed himself to 6 and used his ultimate on bot lane every time that they were going in for a fight.
Yeah.
I had an issue with 1 or 2 times he used his ult. So I talk about this sometimes when I do jungling instructional things, is unless it's 100% like amazing, really impactful kill you can get on the map, if you ult 15 seconds before a dragon, you put yourself in a detrimental spot. And in a closer game, the other team may have come back from the fight where he did that, because Twitch and Thresh killed Morgan Ashe, and I touched on their ults being down as well and some other things. So just, if you have big cooldowns, don't. And the same goes for top laner. Like, if it's a minute before a dragon, unless it's like an amazing double kill teleport, you usually don't want to take it. So play around dragon a little more with your long cooldowns.
Let's talk Ryze. Top lane here.
CS with spells a lot more than he needed to. I think that's the biggest thing that I saw.
I was going to say the same thing. It's really hard to last hit on Ryze, don't get me wrong, but I think you use your spells too frequently and ran yourself out of mana to the point where if Shen had understood the matchup, he could have abused you for a couple levels.
Yeah, and last thing on Ryze is, like, I don't know, it's hard. And Tsunamic lives in Maine, so he understands the ping struggle, but I can do it, so it's, I don't know.
Did we see much out of Paid and Megalithon? I know that Paid, he tossed a couple Ash arrows because he was ahead that went down mid lane, and they hit, but against a team that was even or behind, he wouldn't have had he wouldn't have been able to toss those arrows. So and I'm sure he knows that.
First or second ult, he played really, really, really greedy and almost died to poison when his team already had a free kill, walking back into spray and pray range. So if your team already has a kill, like, don't put yourself in danger. I think he can probably recognize that by himself, but it's good to point out. Also,
go ahead, I'll let you finish thought. I want to talk about Morgana for a moment.
Also, getting a vamp early, I don't like it. There are reasons to do it, but when you buy a vamp and you have to sit on vamp and pick, you don't give yourself an item buy for 1400 mid game, which is really, really hard to deal with. So it's, I don't know. I would just say, like, don't buy Vamp Scepter unless you really, really need it. And you're winning lane hard enough, you should have just gone standard.
I need to speak to Morgana for a moment. I can't give you timestamps. I would go back if I was giving a review right here, I would probably pick apart the number of Qs that you tossed out and specifically how you also used your pool and when you used it, getting your W. But you tossed out a lot of Qs the same way that Thresh did, and that you tried to catch somebody that was in a spot that they weren't in before. Now I'm going to bring another hunting analogy in here, is that if you're shooting birds with birdshot, you always lead them, and the same thing goes with Morgana Q. You're not shooting the Q where the person's at, shooting where they're gonna be. So you need to predict how that person's gonna be moving. And a lot of times at Bronze and Silver, they move exactly where you think they're gonna move. So be more quick on the draw with those Qs, because I think you could have landed a couple of them, but there were a few which I think you just tossed out because you thought that you should have to toss a Q out. You felt like, because I have it, I should let it go. Kind of like the Lee Sin in his Q as well.
Yeah, there are 3 things I can touch on Morg really quickly. One, Pwn already touched on it with Q. If your Q is on cooldown, your 2v2 suddenly becomes bad. So unless it's a good Q, don't take it. It's the same as Blitz. If your hook goes on cooldown, unless it's a really good hook, like, you put yourself in a crap position. The other two things, back when you're AD carry backs if you can. Paid got put in a couple of bad spots because you were kind of greedy and stayed for CS, and it's usually not worth doing as a support. And also, don't spam pool for spell thieves.
Right.
Pool is really expensive in mana, and I saw that a couple of times. It's just don't do it.
That extra gold really isn't worth running yourself for an extra E or Q or what it may be. The only time that I really see that pool being super worthwhile is if you need to push that wave to get level 2 more quickly. But how many times do you start W once Morgana?
Mm-hmm. And wards. The biggest thing we saw was ward control. And not only did blue team have... purple team had 4 sweepers, they also outwarded. So... I mean, if you have warding totems and they have 4 sweepers, there's really no excuse for them to have more wards than you.
And then finally, let's talk on Silent and Cho'Gath.
Silent and Cho. Build...
Really build path, build order.
Yeah, build path is the biggest one for me. I don't know what you're running on your runes, but you really want to make sure you're getting closer to 40% on Cho if you can. Either through boots and blues, or Morellos and boots, or Morellos and runes, or... I'd
say a lot of people though go pseudo tanky between Abyssal, Zonias, and Rod of Ages. You don't need, like I said, you don't necessarily need all that CDR between Morellos, but Morellos isn't a bad rush on him either for mid lane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean you can go tanky. I have a friend Dead Turtle. He's a Cho main. He's 400 LP challenger. I think he's playing more Scunner now. But what he routinely did was CDR boot Morello into Abyssal Hourglass. Mm-hmm. It makes you tanky, it gives you CDR to have your moves up, and you still do damage. It's pretty good balance of everything.
I like that build.
Alright, and we'll take a game between game 2. Twitch will drop. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in chat, so on and so forth.